I'm Birdi Sinclair, and I have some thoughts. So here's some more Birdi Minutes for you. I was talking with a girlfriend earlier today, and we were discussing things that, like the roots of things that can sometimes hold us back, get in the way. We don't even realize that they're there, right? We just have the thoughts or the feelings that something is hard or uncomfortable and we don't want to. And maybe we have a list of reasons why they're hard or uncomfortable or that we don't want to. But if we feel into the thoughts, if we think about what's there, if we feel below the thoughts and say, well, what's underneath that? What feels most like this? What do we find there? And I was reminded of this time when I was a little girl with my grandmother. And this would be back in the early 70s. And I was coloring these pictures. I colored them so carefully because I wanted to buy a 45. I wanted some music. And I can still see those crazy little yellow discs that would go in the middle so they fit on the turntable, right? And so I was coloring these pictures, and I went door to door and I was selling them for like a nickel, 25 cents. And I was feeling so good about this. This is like my version of a lemonade stand, that I was going to go and buy this thing, right? I figured I could ask my grandmother or someone to bring me there, and maybe my brother. We could ride bikes. I could ride on his handlebars. We could go buy my 45. I had good thoughts. I can remember all of this like it was yesterday. And all it took was a little quiet minute of just sitting into that space, feeling those thoughts. And one of the neighbors, I didn't know she had done this, but one of the neighbors called my grandmother and said, "Do you know what she's doing?" So when I got back and my grandmother got a hold of me, she was out of her mind. And she said, "What are you doing? We are not beggars." And she brought me back to each and every house and had me give back the money. And I was so confused because I thought I did a good thing, right? Like, this is the time where we were being given the message as young girls that we could be anything, that independence was ours to have. And yeah, there were a lot of other things going on in the early 70s, and being in New Jersey and New York was like a hot spot for all of this stuff. But I have to tell you, it was also the time of empowerment, right? There was a time where you could push back and you could ask questions, and and I was also little. So this is not where she was coming from. She was coming from the space of an Italian immigrant, and she and my grandfather in the New Jersey, New York area, and being from the turn of the century, and adults in the 30s and the 40s and coming here then, they had changed their names, they had worked hard, they had really designed a life to protect us and bring us forward. And I'm little, but she's not, and she's very aware of all the complicated things going on in the world, and that she had designed so carefully for me. And so in that moment, we were both very confused, and we broke each other's hearts. And this is the feeling that I have still in my body. And when I come into other spaces now, where I'm thinking like, this is hard, this is complicated, right? I need to promote myself, or I have this big accomplishment and I need to be out loud with it, or I need to go forward in this way or that way. And I find these reasons where it feels hard or tough or concerning in some way. if I feel the thoughts that are underneath that, and I'm still with them, and I say, what feels most like this? And I discover there, that time when I was this little girl with my grandmother, I can understand it a little better. And I can remember now the foundation of that was love. There were so many other times with my grandmother where, boy, you know, she was on fire. She was full of love. She had a lot of other good thoughts. She'd pop up and she'd say things like, you know, I read in the paper today that nothing is impossible. It just hasn't been done yet, right? Well, what a great thing to tell a little girl, especially in that time period. And then, right, there was lots of love from her and between us. And that reminds me to think, if she and I were to have a conversation today, now, about so many things, it would be so different. Her intention was not to harm me that day, right? Her intention wasn't to confuse me. Her intention was to protect me. And so I think if we put love back into the room, if we put love back into that initial feeling, we can have a new conversation with this thing that keeps popping up and popping up and popping up, right? And have a different experience with it as it shows itself. Because there are plenty of times where obviously I accomplish things. Obviously I put myself out there and I do some things and go forward. But in those moments that I can't, those moments that I feel like it's too hard, it's too overwhelming, there's something there. I'm creating this almost false list that I want to stand by, like, oh, I have all these reasons, right? That's an indicator that I need to feel the thoughts, look underneath what's the story under the story? What feels most like this situation? And have a new conversation with it. What's the foundation there, right? How can I be in a different relationship with that and meet it with some other kind of love, some other kind of kindness? I don't know. Maybe these thoughts can do something interesting for you too. But I think I enjoyed stepping back into that room with my little self so confused with a broken heart, and my grandmother so confused with a broken heart, putting love back into that conversation and remembering to bring it forward, to bring it current, and be with myself now and see what happens. Let's see what happens. So take care and have a beautiful rest of your day. And that's what I have for you. So I'll see you around, and I look forward to extending the conversation. That's it. Mwah. Bye.